Hey D&D fam, I'm Quick.
And I'm Lee, and you're listening to
Divas and Ducats. So what is a diva? I think divas get a bad rep, but to me, diva is all about the attitude.
As for ducats, it's your finances, your assets, Skrilla, guap, your coin. We're talking all things with the potential to affect your pockets.
And while we're attorneys by trade, we are divas by choice. Divas and Ducats is for edutainment purposes.
Y'all, we are not Series 511 or 703 professionals. This does not create a financial advisor or attorney-client relationship. The views expressed here are solely our opinions and the opinions of our guests.
It's just our opinions, y'all. Okay, divas, let's talk Ducats.
Hey D&D fam, welcome back. As you see, we are not alone today. We have one of our favorite mental health professionals with us to talk through, what are we calling this?
Red flags in relationships. Trying to help y'all out some.
Okay, because y'all are all over Instagram, reposting memes, subtweeting.
Out of relationship. It's difficult. What is it called?
What?
The other stage in between is complicated.
Yes. Y'all doing a lot. Situationships that went awry.
Yes.
So, we wanted to talk through a couple of the red flags and why we ignore them. And what's a red flag versus, you just it's a preference. You're just a little picky.
Right.
But first, if you are watching, make sure you subscribe below.
Yes.
And thank you for doing that. And also, you could go to our website, divasandducats.com. You can sign up there and be notified when new episodes or new things are coming about. So let's get into it. You're not a new guest. We have Todd Malloy here again. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell them what you do?
Well, my name is Todd Malloy. I'm a relationship, intimacy, and sex therapist with about 30 years of experience working with individuals, couples, and families. And basically, I help people give themselves permission to be who they are on the inside. They can do it openly. I help them wrestle with family challenges, stresses, traumas, things of that nature that they can live a life worth celebrating.
All right. Love it. I like your elevator speech.
Well, thank you. I've practiced.
Because he leaves so much out. You also do other things like...
Oh, I do other things like I speak professionally. I'm a book author. I've taught in higher education, things of that nature. And in addition to that, I'm hosting an Ask Todd. If you subscribe to my YouTube channel, there'll be Ask Todd videos, podcasts, things of that nature. And soon to come, we'll be doing Between the Sheets podcast starting in April.
Right.
Shout out to the Isley brothers.
Okay.
Of course. They've made a lot of babies.
I mean, if you're born in 70s, 80s, you probably something to do with Isley brothers.
Exactly.
And some of those babies are probably made with people that had red flags. Before they
Lovely segue.
So let's talk about what are some of the common red flags that you see in your practice of marital counseling, because at that point in time they've already been married, or I'm sure you get couples that are trying to come premarital counseling,
right? Of course,
trying to determine some things.
First, I think it's important to define what red flags are.
Yes,
what I consider red flags are really traffic signs on how to maneuver through life through relationships.
Okay.
That we ignore. So just as you're driving down the street, you wouldn't ignore the traffic sign, but we tend to do it within our own lives. And the red flags typically have always been there. They started even before you came into a committed relationship, but you've chosen to ignore them, and they manifest throughout. And then as you are changing, processing through life, they become more of an issue.
Okay.
First time it's cute, second time it's aight. But by the millionth time, you got on my last, unplucked my last nerve.
Right.
But the question really is, when you're in a relationship and you're not experiencing how you want to feel, why are you ignoring them? So, for example, if I don't feel safe, I don't feel secure, I can't trust you, your words and your actions don't match, I'm looking at you sideways like I hear you, but I don't feel you. But you don't speak to it, you ignore it, but then it continues to build. think about this. Every relationship you have, even sitting here, there's a way you want to feel in this environment.
Right.
Yeah.
But anytime you feel contrary to that, that's a red flag. The question is, why aren't you using your voice? Why are you not? And the reason for that, I believe, therapeutically, is rooted in our family of origin.
Okay.
Because typically, and what I'm coming across a lot for a lot of the clients that do this is emotional immaturity. They're not using their voices because they're not valuing their own experience enough to share their voice, because they value what's happening around them. They put more honor on the people around them than they do their own experience, because, again, from my perspective, everybody's traumatized. Why do I say that? Because when you're a kid, you're supposed to be seen and not heard. When you get a little older, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. When you get a little older, you got to be politically correct. When does anybody say value your own experience enough to put a voice to it, and the people around you care enough about you to make a shift and an adjustment to give you a level of peace, rest, and joy? They don't. Well, we're taught, whether consciously or subconsciously, you got to go along to get along.
Right.
And we try that for as long as we can, but we can't, because we're not meant to be an island. We are relational people by design. Think about this. When a baby is born, doctor, nurse, midwife, doula makes the baby cry. However, when mama holds the baby stops crying. They haven't been trained. It's innate. It's wired in us that we're relational. But as we're reared, we lose our voice. We don't validate our own experience. So now the representatives show up, all of these different things show up, and we're masking it because we're too afraid. Because my thing is, why should I want something that hurts me?
Right.
Why is it not okay for me to say ouch? Why is it not okay for me to ask a question? Can you clarify that for me? I'm not sure how I feel about what you're saying and what's going on.
Got you. Okay, so we've heard just the definition from your standpoint. So what are some of the common red flags you've encountered, like, in practice?
Okay. Some of the common red flags that I've identified in practice were, the first one, the biggest one, is surface conversation. People that are not effective communicators. And it doesn't matter. Too oftentimes we connect to people because of their resume. You got enough letters by your name, you got the right look, whatever the case may be. But when it comes to communicating, it's only surface conversation. As a matter of fact, I had an Imani model. Guy is gorgeous. I mean, yes, he's gorgeous. and in the midst of that, he even said himself, he was never taught to communicate. And basically, when he dated, he said he started dating college women when he was a freshman in high school. He just stand there and smile.
Look pretty.
Right, he stand there and smile and get attention. So now, as a 40-some-odd-year-old man, he's actually coming to me to learn how to communicate.
Because the smiling ain't working no more.
Well,
no, he just decided he didn't want to be shallow.
What else?
What else is there today?
Right. No, but again, surface conversation, people who are not an effective communicator. Because if they're not an effective communicator, they could tend to be unpredictable. How do you feel secure when you don't really know who the person is because they're not being transparent. They're being guarded.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair.
Also, I've seen what I call emotional immaturity. They're unpredictable, they're irresponsible, they're inconsistent. And then the question is, even with this red flag, even if you see it, how is the other person communicating that I see it and trying to hold the person accountable? So for me, it's not just about the red flags. The red flags should be, when they're seen, they should be addressed. So just because I see a red flag doesn't mean that I ignore it. I should be asking questions. Help me understand what's going here. Why this? The way we go about relationships, I think we go into it a little too sheepish.
Tell me about it.
At some point, we have to have real conversation. By the second, third date, we got to have real conversation. If we just smashing maintenance, okay, do what you do. However, but if you're really in a position of life where you want to build and really trying to do something real, right out the gate, you should, again, you're not grilling a person, it's not an interrogation, but you should at least have real conversations. Who are you? Help me see the depth of who you are, not just your smile.
Yeah.
That fair? Also is a lack of trust. Right. If you have a red flag, hey, something's off. I'm not able to trust you, or you're not trustworthy because, again, your actions and your words aren't matching. However, with this one, I think both parties, if you're feeling that you can't trust the person, you really have to check yourself first to see if, first, how might it be me? Because am I not trusting of myself enough to trust my own experience? So sometimes you say, I don't trust someone. Well, maybe you've been hurt and impacted previously, and it's just the hurt trickling because, hey, I may be having feelings with that person, so it's creating an insecurity. So before you just write this person off, you got to check the genuineness of that feeling and that experience.
That's fair.
Okay.
You also have...
but let's go back to lack of trust.
Okay. All right, cool.
So when you checked yourself and you realize it's not me.
Correct.
Correct.
Right. Now, but again, it goes back to, now are you strong enough within yourself? Do you value your own experience enough to challenge what's going on? Remember, red flags are really for you to ask questions on how to take the next step. So in the midst of seeing that, and if it's someone else, hey, help me understand this, but then whatever the response is, that's clear. That should be a clear signal of what the next move is.
Do you trust yourself?
Right. Now, also in that trusting someone and why you don't use your voices, are you holding on to your ideal? Hey, this person is a good fit for my ideal, so now I'm ignoring the red flags because this person, if they just do this, if they just do this, if they just do this, they'll be a perfect fit for this. As opposed to, let me just see organically where this is going to go without the expectation, such that now as I'm seeing red flags or I'm not feeling the experience I want to feel, then it's easier for me to make the next best move. That makes sense? Also, I think it's, if, oftentimes y'all bring people home and the kinfolk. Hold on, what with me?
All right, we bring people
not
home.
y'all, y'all cousins in there, your friends. Bring somebody home, y'all look at the dude and he ain't.
That ain't it.
Right, but I think it's very important, and that is a red flag. If people that are close to you, that know you, that are intimate with you, care about you, say, hey, you might want to question this person, too often times we want to reject that information. No, but I'm not saying fully accept it, but it should be a data point to say, hey, let me kind of watch what they're saying. Why is it that they're saying this about that person? And let me begin to look at that and pay attention to that action and that behavior.
Yeah.
Fair.
Also, it's the controlling behavior. Hey, you ever notice that when you're in a relationship and someone wants all of your time and all of a sudden the girls' night's out, oh, why do you have to go out with your girls and why not? The more truncated or limited he wants your circle to be, that's a red flag. Yeah, we love each other, we care about each other, we want to vibe, we want to rock, but we're still individuals. And we still have we should have the opportunity to still have an individual experience even as a collective unit.
And so with that, I have several questions also.
Okay.
Like, how does that depend on how early in the relationship it is for it to be a controlling thing? Because I just think about, like, we're all part of the D9, so we're all sororities or fraternities. And, like, thinking about, like, in the new parts and stages of a relationship, you might be in a lot of meetings and and that person might be like, well, why are you spending so much time with this? And it could be just a lack of understanding. Correct. Or it could be controlling. Like, how do you gauge that?
But then that's the conversation part. That's how you have to be comfortable enough with your own experience and not afraid to lose the situation to say, hey, I hear you, but I've made a life commitment. I've been in relationships before. Why are you going to a fraternity meeting? Why you got to do it? You already went to the meeting on Sunday. Why is you have? Because I'm on other subcommittees. And then I'm not going to continually repeat myself over and over and over again. So for me, that could potentially be a deal breaker if you're trying to stop me from being me. But I at least have to have a dialogue because if you can't understand the priority and what it means to me.
Yeah. And
should
at
I
the
be in
very
relationship
least,
with
they
them?
don't have their own friends. So that, I'm not saying it's a red flag, but at the very least, you don't have enough going on that you're like, okay, you busy tonight, I'm going to go do this.
Right, because it almost creates a point that they're needy people.
Right.
That's fair?
And I wonder, like, that was my next part. Like, is that a red flag? Like, dating a person, I guess, or is that more like a preference? If you have a person that doesn't really have friends and, like, you become they got a lot of free time and you don't, so there's kind of...
Right, but they want to consume your free time.
Right.
Why can't they find other ways? What are your interests? What are your hobbies? What are your other things that you enjoy doing? And if I'm the only thing, I don't know if I want to be that because can anybody be all things to any one person?
No.
Right.
And to put that type of responsibility on a person is unrealistic.
Only Jesus.
Yep.
I'm gonna keep. I'm not gonna make a comment because again, I won't make religious people mad. I'm not gonna offend. I'm gonna try not to offend people today. I'm gonna do something different today. And being in a relationship with an insecure person, that's definitely a red flag because you're always going to be cornered. They're going to make it about you, and they're not taking accountability for their own experience. Can I say what I want to say? All right, cool. Yes. For example, a guy is concerned about his penis size. And asking a woman, this is true, this happened in my office, she's asking the penis size of previous partners the woman had, and she said one guy was 10 inches, and now it just messes. She just messed up his. She got
tired and she answered. I'm sure the first time she was nice, but
no, this is true because I've had other women that have identified they've been with people with like Lysol can genitalia, and it turned their cervix and was very painful. So it's about performance, and knowledge, and wisdom, not necessarily size. It's about experience and knowledge. Yeah. Again, my people perish due to lack of knowledge, make it a little spiritual. Also,
I'm not finished getting off.
Okay, go ahead.
Getting off of the control.
You're sitting there just so polite.
The control thing she's honing in on this.
Because I hear a lot of people, like, a big thing I think when you're starting in relationships is how much time a person talks to you, right? You know, they don't say good morning all the time. I call them and it's hours between. Like, are those red flags, or is that like somebody might be working at a job where they don't have their phone next to them all the time and they can't text you back during the day? Like, is any of that red flag? Now, going days, sure, like that's understandable, but
it depends on how the person's lifestyle and how aware you are of the person's lifestyle. For me personally, that's a red flag.
Okay.
Why is that? We're all connected. People got smart watches, everything. How do you go through life and not look at some form of electronics that gives you a signal for everything for over an hour? Because when you're in a meeting, you're checking a phone. They're texting. They're doing all of these things. So you obviously have seen it. And for you not to respond, to me, is a value statement.
You don't value me, Lane? You don't be valuing me? Okay. Let's continue.
Think about this. Think about it this way. When someone you value, if her niece was to reach out to her, she's going to respond.
Right.
Again, that's a value statement. Now, if her niece reaches out and there's a delay, the longer the delay, you have to question the value.
Fair.
So, again, for me personally, that is a red flag.
I would say totality of the circumstance. If he missed a good morning text, but generally he's available or whatever, it's kind of like, okay.
And that's important about knowing people's lives. Sometimes you're not available and so forth, but that's the exception.
But a pattern
that's
is different, right?
Yeah. It's not the rule. There should be some level of consistency. Think about it this way: the Lauryn Hill song "Reciprocity." If I'm pouring out and I'm getting a trickle back, there's an imbalance somewhere. And then again, that's about using your voice, saying, "Hey, I'm not feeling this."
Right.
And I've been in situations like that.
Now, a pause before you go through the other common red flags. Would it be fair, like just based on our conversation, would it be fair to say that a red flag isn't necessarily you can differentiate that red flag and deal breaker.
Right.
Okay. Because I was like, what I'm hearing, I feel like certain things are like, this is more deal breaker, whereas red flag is more like, okay, I need to take a minute. Right. Yeah, this ain't curling over.
Most of them are deal breakers, but a red flag can be abuse.
Okay.
Can be condescending conversations and all of those things, and they could equally be a deal breaker.
Okay.
Like, for example, someone says to you, "Hey, I'll see you at 4:00." They show up at 11. You've had no phone call, you have no text, and so forth. You can ask a lot of questions, but for some people, that's also a deal breaker.
Me.
How do you ghost me? And then you say, "Well, I didn't have a charger on my phone." They come up with excuses, but no legitimate response. So some people may accept that. For some people, that's a deal breaker.
Got you.
Right.
Yeah,
Again, to your point, abuse would, for hopefully most people, if not all people, should. Abusive relationships, you should run for the hills. The first sign of that, you should run for the hills.
Right.
It's a red flag and a deal breaker.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
correct.
Okay.
Continue. I'm questioned out.
Also,
at the moment.
Also goes with whether a person can still be an excellent communicator, but they have dark secrets. There are parts of your life they're not giving you transparency to. It sounds like you've had that experience.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna move on.
Keep going.
We're gonna move. Okay. Also, in regards to past relationships, how are those people identifying their part to the dysfunction? Because the only consistent factor in all of those relationships was that person.
Yeah.
And if someone is saying this person didn't do right by me, this person didn't do right with me, this person just ghosted me, whatever the case may be, but then sharing no accountability, no responsibility, or not even sharing how they've grown and what they've taken and how they've implemented making healthier choices and decisions, that's a red flag. They're not doing the work.
Right.
So that's a person that's still sick.
Can't own their stuff.
Right.
Gotcha.
That could be contagious, so you may not want to connect. And again, also a person that may show up to be needy or need to be needed. They're hyper attentive. But when you're trying to give to them, they don't know how to. They can't define how to care for them.
Example.
They just want to pour out.
They're the caregiver.
Right, but yet they don't know how to tell you what they want, but they'll hold you accountable for not fulfilling their needs. Red flag.
Okay.
And obviously, what we just talked about before is the 10th one would be the abusive behavior. Abusive doesn't necessarily have to be physical.
Right.
It could be even holding back affection. Okay, so it could be verbal abuse. It could be holding affection. It could be physical abuse. It could be condescending. Every time they make you second guess yourself, or they're attempting to second guess you. Every time you say what you want to do, well, are you sure you want to do it that way? Are you sure? It's like, hey, and I was capable, I'm accomplished, I'm all of these things. Now, why are you second guessing me all the time?
Right.
Can also be abusive behavior. So those are the top 10 types of things that I come across on a day-to-day basis.
Okay. I'm processing that.
Oh, okay, good. Because I was wondering because because you guys are a little more expressive. But
Well, last time I took in what you said, I was a little too intense, so I try to, I slow it down now.
Okay.
So
I didn't mean to trigger you.
It's not a trigger.
Just going back to that was a red.
So, what is the difference, for example? Because I feel like a lot of people, lately on social media, you see they'll say something in a meme and they have all the red flag emojis. Right. And it may or may not, it might be something silly, that they even say. So, what is there a difference? And if so, what is it between a red flag and just a preference?
Well, really, that's established through the conversation of the person. First and foremost, I think you have to know who you are before really defining that.
Okay.
Because again, most of us, when I ask the question, "Who are you?" not many of my clients can answer that right off the bat. It usually could take up to a month or longer for them to really define it without mentioning name, function, role, or title. I look like a bull in the china shop. Most people would perceive it because I'm seen to be direct. I don't know why they think that, but okay. However, but actually, I'm not a bull in the china shop. I'm actually a fine piece of china.
Okay.
Right, but if I don't introduce that, I'll be handled inappropriately.
Right.
So I have to understand that for myself, so I know not to connect to a sledgehammer or a brick, as opposed to a piece of fine. Okay, because I am a fine china, I need a piece of silk.
Y'all can go to YouTube to see the fine piece of china. Just putting it out there.
Well, thank you.
Rush.
So, but it's understanding who you are, because once I know who I am, it's very easy for me to create a litmus test. It's really easy for me to identify deal breakers. So again,
because they
it
have
starts
to be personal to you, and you have to
exactly.
know what
It's first, how well am I in understanding myself, knowing myself, so I can teach someone how to care for me. And then their ability to be an effective student will determine your access to me.
There you go.
That makes sense?
Yes.
It does.
I got you.
And so in that, I know you kind of mentioned that that's a red flag, right? Being able to ask somebody, what do you like? How can I give you affection? How do you like affection? Without people going into, the the 5 love languages, like really being able to tell you, like, this is what makes me happy, this is how I feel loved. Like, if they can't tell you those things, or
they're setting you up to fail, and they're setting themselves up to be disappointed.
Yeah.
Because again, nobody organically knows anything about another person.
Right.
What you know is your history that didn't include them. So unless you're open to learn them and they teach you and you teach them, that means we always should be students and teachers. Will be mishandled.
Right.
That fair?
That is fair.
It is. You want to go through some examples?
Well, I know one of the biggest, well, I'm not going to say big, a common preference that I hear, I don't know if it's a red flag or a preference, but because I've actually seen the red flag that you were talking about, me mention this one specifically. Like, why don't you post me? Like, is that a red flag? Some people go to the side of you hiding me, some people go to the side of it's not that big of a deal.
Correct. And again, it's situational because I do have people in my office. He didn't say how much he loved me on my birthday now. He paid for her hair, he bought her flowers, took her to Bermuda, did all of those things. But because he didn't post, he's a SOB.
I mean,
Bermuda.
Okay.
That's what she needed.
Right. But for her, that's big. Others, it's
now,
not
if he had
necessary.
did any of the other things and posted it, he would have still been an SOB.
Right, exactly. So it's just, so again, it's situational, but when on the grand scheme of life, is social media a defining factor of a relationship?
For a lot of people, it is.
But should it be? For example, I'm at a restaurant and I'm watching people have dinner. Nobody's talking to each other, but
They taking pictures of their food.
They're taking pictures of their food. They're posted having a great time. They're having a great time with social media. They're not having a great time with their person. With their person. Now, the person sitting there, I'm paying $150 for dinner. I haven't even done it. Excuse me. This costs $150.
Can you cut that stage?
So either put the phone down or I'm leaving because I won't pay the check. I'm not doing
I mean,
that.
I kind of agree because I don't like a lack of presence because to me that
a lack of what?
Presence. Like you're not present when
exactly.
you're doing all
You're
of
not
that.
present, connected, and engaged. So what are we doing?
True.
I'm over here paying for you to floss.
I just want to defend myself and say that when I take a picture, I do ask permission. I'm like, is it okay for me to take a picture
after that?
Like I just want to take a picture
before
of
you bite it. She'd be like, "Well, wait,
it's really pretty.
It's pretty. Let me get it."
And then I put my phone down, and we're having a conversation.
That's why we've never gone on a date.
Is that why? So I know. Like I take pictures of food. It's not me. Okay.
Focused attention.
Got it.
Focused attention.
Got it. And then the other one kind of talked about your partner not having friends. For me, that's a huge red flag because I do have things going on and I don't want to be your all. And I don't necessarily, like for some people, both parties might not necessarily have friends or I guess, people are transient. So most of their friends might be in another state or I don't know.
I don't know where you were going with that.
Wait, I don't know. I mean, I've heard guys always say, when I talk about two guys that don't have a lot of friends, they say, well, it's, you're older and it's harder to make friends. Because I've heard it from multiple guys, I have to give credence to whatever they're saying and can't just knock it down. But
again,
it doesn't make sense to me.
The question really is are they demanding you to fill all of their time?
They have issues when I'm doing other things, yes. All their time, I can't say that, but do they have attitudes when I'm doing things? Absolutely.
But then it could also mean they may be insecure because in truth, if I'm comfortable with who I am, I should be comfortable whether I'm in a crowd or not. So it's more so insecure and it may be needy people.
And there's some guys who, even though they don't have a lot of friends, like they would be cool. Like, okay, well, I'll see you when you get back, because it's not their thing.
Right. Exactly.
Not for me,
that would be a secure person who's comfortable in who they are, and they can watch TV, work out, play golf, do whatever it is they do.
Okay.
Well, ask about that phone, huh?
Oh, being able to access your partner's phone, is that a red flag? I mean, for me, I don't need to do it, but I do know people that be like, "Oh, why are you hiding your phone? Like, I can't have your passcode. It's a trust thing."
Yeah, I get that a lot, hiding phones. However, but then you also have to look situational for professional. I'm a therapist. I have a ton of people in my phone that are clients. Okay. I don't access them. Before that, I was a pastor. So I do not allow people to have it. And I got a screen over my phone, so even if I'm talking, nobody for the left or right can see who's on my phone. Now, to someone, that may be a red flag. It may be a red flag, but it's my profession requires that.
Okay. Yeah.
So again, it's situational. For me, in my to be in a relationship, that's just an is. Yeah. So if my actions and behaviors don't demonstrate a trust, it may not be a good fit.
I think the situation for me is when it's constantly like face down. Like if it's constantly face down, or like anytime you go to use your phone, it has to be kind of like that's weird to me. I don't need your passcode because I'm not giving you my passcode. Like, I don't need all of that. So I guess to me, the only time it becomes weird is when they make it weird.
Right. So I've seen situations where people they know you're walking behind them, but they're following you. That they can like feel you coming, so they're like this, and then they turn it.
Or they can't talk on the phone in front of you.
Or they suddenly get out the phone.
Right. Yes. So that turnover, shifting, and they got to walk out the room all the time. That's a red flag.
Yeah. It goes into trust, because then I feel like I have something in my spirit. There you go.
Yeah, and you said that's so meaningful.
That's like a trust thing.
I connected it to your list.
So, in this, I guess, entrepreneurial state and IG and people starting businesses, the entrepreneur, the serial entrepreneurs, they always have business ideas. The dreamers, I guess, is that a red flag? Because I do think about a lot of times dreamers get with people that are practical. Two dreamers don't usually marry each other.
Right. It is a red flag if they're dreamers and you see no follow through.
Okay.
So they just throwing out, and 1 week they're here, 1 week they're over there, 1 week they're over there. That's unstable. That's not a dreamer. That's the diagnosis of ADHD or something else, but it's not.
So I was talking to my cousin today, and he was telling me that he had, he talked to a girl that she dated a guy that was a gamer. Like, he wanted to, that was his IG business.
Which is a legitimate career.
But it wasn't. I mean, it was legitimate for him.
Gaming is a legitimate career.
It was very lucrative, right?
She said, but for him it wasn't. That's like what she said.
She was like, it became such a trigger for her. Like, if she even saw, like, how long you be on this? Because he would like ignore dates and everything.
Oh no, that has been an issue. To even if they're not saying they're a gamer, in relationships, I have where you have professional husband and wife doing what they do, but the husband will come home and spend from when he gets home to midnight. He's gaming with people around the world. So it's become a third in the relationship. That's a red flag. I'm not going to give my perception of grown men that spend that much time on video games daily. But again, it may be a red flag. It is a red flag because, again, where's the present connected and engaged? Where's the relationship? Your relationship is with the computer or gaming system. The relationship is not with me.
And I think some of that, to be fair, can be age specific to an extent. So like when you say dreamer, I always go to the guy who's like 35 still trying to be a rapper. Like, for me, no. Okay, have your entrepreneur, but like if your entrepreneurial spirit is to rap, I still need you to have a job. Like, it can't be, I'm just chasing this.
Oh, no, that's what I was going to say. So it's okay to dream. It's okay to pursue. However, how are you stabilizing your life, the quality of your life prior to this, as opposed to looking, I think one of your terms is a hobosexual?
I had that.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, I'm just looking for somebody that'll house me until my career pops off. That's a red flag.
Okay, so I'm
job hoppers.
Hobosexual.
Yeah.
When you say consistency, it made me think about like job hoppers. And some people are like, I was just finding myself. Right. And that can last 15, 20 years.
And therefore that person needs to marinate until you lock down, because what you're demonstrating to me is you're not stable. Red flag.
Okay. That was easy. Okay.
I mean, we could think of several. I mean, top of head,
Yeah. So when you were talking about people that blame other people all the time, I a lot of times think about parenthood, right? And dating and all these blended families, people that have children, right? Like I think it's a natural, common thing to constantly blame the other parent for what you lack in the relationship with your child, right? Especially, I would say, as me dating men, when I talk to them about like why they don't have a relationship with their child or where their child is or what, it's always
baby mama got issue.
Always, like always. And to me, I'm just at a place where I'm not going to deal with it anymore. Like, I prefer to have someone that has a relationship with your child. Like, I don't want to deal with your relationship drama issues at that time because I'm in my 40s. It'd be different if I'm in my 20s, but that might not necessarily be a red flag. But I just wonder sometimes how much of that is not
lack of accountability.
Right, a lack of accountability.
Right, but that's what it has to be. For whoever is in that situation, I think you should look at it situationally.
Yeah.
And because, again, just because you're having baby mama drama or ex-wife drama, whatever the case may be, doesn't mean that you don't show up. It's just that I have to show up in a different way based on the minefield that I'm working with. So I'm still paying whatever I need to pay. I'm still making pursuits to see my child. I'm doing the things I need to do. It may not reap the fruit or the reward I'm looking for, but if you're watching them make legitimate attempts, that speaks to their character as opposed to just saying, I'll wait till they get 25 and I'll deal with it then.
Right.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. Okay. I like that answer. It's the effort because it can't just stop because it's hard. Like
no, exactly. As a matter of fact, I respect this young man. He's only about 25 and he's in a situation, and his ex puts him in court most of the time, and he's fighting. He's been fighting 3 years consistently, working 2 jobs, doing all of the things that he needs to do. He has a relationship now, a wife who's pregnant. However, he's still spending time fighting, doing the things he needs to do. And as a young soldier, you have to respect his hustle and grind. So if you're 40 and you're not willing to do that, and at 40, you should have a greater socioeconomic situation than this young 25-year-old who's just starting off. But if he's putting in that type of work, why can't you?
Well, there you go.
I agree.
So,
it sounds better coming from you than if I say it.
You just play the recording.
I am. I'm going to save that clip. Give me a clip of this right here so I can just play it.
So, like, in recognizing the flags, and we talked about how, some of them, they really are individualistic, just depending on you as a person. Correct. For the most part, abuse.
Right. It should be across the board.
But I guess as type A's, as people who think a lot, how do you settle if this is a red flag or you're overthinking or overanalyzing? Like, is there like a spidey sense or?
Well, this is where one of the challenges with the A-type person, the overthinker, and I'm in that category, is that too oftentimes we become judge, jury, and executioner. We do we internalize the whole process.
Guilty.
The problem is that this has to be a conversation. I'm processing data you gave me, but I'm not going to count you as a data point.
I've already spiraled.
There's some things that concern me. Hey, I'm questioning these actions, these behaviors, this disposition. And now based on that collective response and my intuition and the hairs on the back of my neck still don't go down, then that's a red flag.
Got you.
But I have to include that person to give them the fair opportunity because, again, red flags come with feelings, but feelings deceive us consistently because, again, we all have a past. We've all been triggered by things. So even if I were to say it's snowing outside, you get a chill. Say, "Whoa, it's snowing." Well, you're in a warm room. Where the chill comes from? That happens all day, every day. So sometimes I have to qualify my experience with wherever the data is coming from to verify that I'm having the appropriate experience.
Okay. Have the conversation. Got that.
Right.
Okay.
Again, why are we not using our voices? Why are we afraid to ask the hard questions? And that's a personal issue. It has less to do with the other person, has more to do with us.
That's real.
And so take it into consideration, a lot of things are about delivery, right? If you've done some work and you've gone to a Todd Malloy and you've done the work and you know how to do good delivery and you've had the communication and there's instant defense, right? Like, why are you asking me to, like, is that in and of itself a red flag?
That in itself is where were we? The red flag.
Lack of communication.
Right, the lack of communication. Thank you.
Okay.
The mere fact is, if I'm asking you a question and you become defensive, what are you trying to hide?
Right.
In a relationship, we're supposed to be naked and unashamed. Right? You want to see me naked, but you can't talk to me.
Talk to me nice.
Okay, help me understand this red flag.
You and these songs.
Sorry.
You're right.
Talk to me nice.
Yeah, you're right. Like it. So, I mean, you alluded to it earlier, really not being able to trust yourself. But why do we ignore have you seen The Tinder Swindler?
Say again, please.
The Tinder Swindler on...
No.
Okay.
Have you heard about it?
Yeah, I have. Someone text me something about it recently.
Okay, so you get the...
Right.
The gist for those who haven't. So The Tinder Swindler is on Netflix. You can go watch it. But the gist of it is basically this guy was on Tinder and he was able to defraud
as a king, the son of the king of diamonds.
The son of the king of diamonds,
not the strip club, but like a wealthy family.
Right.
And
that actually did diamonds. And so his storyline to them was
he was on Tinder.
Right. Also. And these women, of course, got into it because he was on boats and all these fancy things. So, he said he was the son of King of Diamonds, and then, his storyline was that the diamond industry was dangerous. He was in trouble. He needed their help. And these women would go out and take out these lavish loans, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 to tunes of hundreds of thousands of dollars, put themselves in debt. And basically he was using their money to fund the next woman in the trip, and it was a huge cycle. He was doing it all across multiple countries, and these women are always like, at the end, how did I not see it? Like, how did I not get it? And of course, they were like, don't blame the victim as well. But in those instances, my first thought was like, you wouldn't take out a $30,000-$40,000 loan for yourself. Why are you gonna go do it for somebody you met on Tinder? But it just made me go to like there was something that went off on you. Like, is this okay? Like, this doesn't work. He's the son of the king of diamonds.
Right, exactly. Well, first of all, I don't... Bear with me here for a minute. There is a red flag, because why would you give a stranger access to your bank account after this situation you're talking about is common? This has been going on since I was a kid. Scams, right. Exactly. Right. But hey, I'm stuck in Nigeria and can't get back home, but I just need $1 from everybody that's on social media, and everybody just kicks out $1. They walk away. What is it? DeLorean, the car dealer, when they were going bankrupt, reached out and said, I need $1 from everybody to save my company. And I think there were some issues with him doing that. The company did eventually went belly up, but he had a ton of money left over. So again, personally, I think it's the person, and they're dealing with some the trauma of emotional neglect, a level of insecurity, or just have an ideal vision, and because of the person's presented resume, they found them acceptable. Again, think about this. We typically feel the red flag, but what we do is we talk ourselves out of it. Well, this is what it is. And again, the con artist, is being very coercive because they're saying what you want to hear. Right. They're pulling as much information as they can, and then they're using it back to you. And they're giving it back, like the guy that talks to you at a restaurant. You're giving them all the information about you. You're not asking questions. You're just talking.
Right.
Meanwhile, they're collecting all of the data, and they just give you what you want to hear.
That's why those surface conversations are so important, huh?
Right, exactly. Start asking questions. Ask the hard questions. Let's go beyond the surface. Hey, as opposed to telling you about me, tell me about you. Help me understand who you are. Because just like you do on an interview, when you go on an interview, they always tell you the company's not just interviewing you, you're actually interview the company as well. Why not do that in our relationships?
Right.
You're right. She should have asked, but can she speak to the King of Diamonds daddy?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I tell you what, even before I send you this, why don't I meet you at your kingdom, and I'll fly there, and we'll meet.
Oh, he was flying them on somebody else's dollar. He was flying them jets.
And you need money from me.
Right, exactly. That, again, it's not consistent.
It wasn't consistent. Right.
It wasn't consistent.
Make it make sense.
Right. I hear what you're saying. I see how you're flossing, but your shoes are run over.
Right.
Your shoes is at an angle.
Right.
The heel on your shoes at an angle.
Yeah.
It's something not consistent here.
Yeah. That's true.
Well. Y'all trust yourselves.
Exactly.
Have the conversation.
Like knowing yourself and trusting yourself.
Exactly.
And not being, like you said, not being able to afraid, because I think you said that, like not being able to afraid to lose. Like I'm not going to not ask you the question because I'm afraid to lose you.
Right. Because in those situations, in a lot of situations that people don't ignore red flags, I have to wonder, why does relationship mean pain to you? Where did you learn that? Should relationships be painful?
Mm-hmm. And to that point, what you're saying, like, I think sometimes people question when things are too peaceful.
Oh, yeah.
And so to some people, that's a red flag, like, we getting along
too well.
No, whereas to you, to your point is like, no, this is what healthy looks like.
Exactly.
Right. So
exactly. Yeah. No, it was interesting. There was a couple I was working with today, and it was a very traumatic experience. I'm working on them on emotional connection and intimacy. And the husband got choked up. He couldn't process and think. He's very emotionally guarded. But he got to a very vulnerable place, and I said, sir, as opposed to trying to walk away from your wife, I want you to hold her. And he held her for like 15 minutes in silence. And I said, welcome, sir. You finally figured out how to make love. No, and I was board certified serious. It's because he was yielded, he was surrendering, he got rid of all of the guards and all of those things, and they were embracing him. He wouldn't let her go. That it becomes, again, you have to be naked and unashamed. That's what we're looking for. And again, he's so used to posture, he's so used to representing, and I don't want to feel judged and all of these things, and it's not allowing him free to open himself and receive the 100% of love he's getting. He's getting love from her, but he's only getting about 75% because he's blocking the other percentage. That was the first day out of a 6-year marriage that he's actually felt all of what his wife had to offer. You're in a dark place as opposed to hiding. Let me come in because I defined you as a man when I met you. That's not for question. You have nothing to prove. I'm already secure in that. Yeah. So now show me behind the curtain. So now I can meet you there because now you've given me a real position as a helpmeet.
Right. As a partner.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. All right. We're trying to help y'all. All right. Like what you say, the people perish for a lack of knowledge.
Well, exactly.
There you go.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, Todd, where can the people find you?
Well, you can do a number of things. You can go to toddmalloy.com. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, you can find me on Facebook. And you can call me at 704-937-2286 and at Inner Peace Counseling Center. And I will be there for your service.
All right. And of course,
right.
Go ahead.
I was about to say,
of course. You can also find me on Diva and Ducats.
Yes. And we'll have that information below in the show notes. Yes, he is. We love having Todd in because he just brings such a wealth of knowledge and blends with our energy. We just love it. So, of course, you'll be seeing more of him. But go back. If you are just joining us, this is the first time you are hearing Todd. We have had episodes with him in 2020 and 2021.
Yes.
So, yes. In the meantime, you can find us, of course, on Facebook and Instagram on Divas and Ducats. You can go to www.divasandducats.com and sign up for our list to get on our list. And whenever we have new episodes come out, you'll be the first to be notified. And also, if we mentioned in the beginning, make sure that you subscribe below and hit that bell. And if you are listening to us on Apple Podcasts and you have been loving Divas and Ducats, make sure you leave us a review.
Yes. All right. In the meantime, in between time,
have a great attitude.
Bye.
Bye.